सूरज की पहली किरण के साथ दिन की शुरुआत कीजिए। सुबह का मंगल प्रभात आपको शुभ हो। सुबह सुबह हो खुशियों का मेला, ना लोगों की परवाह ना दुनिया का झमेला। पंछियों का संगीत हो और मौसम अलबेला। मुबारक हो आपको ये खूबसूरत सवेरा। हर सोमवार से लेकर शुक्रवार तक सुबह 6 से लेकर 9 बजे तक शामिल रहें रेडियो फिजी 2 पर हम सफर में रविंद्र सिंह के साथ।
Oh, kayak boro-boro cuma tahu kebingungan itu mamu. Gua nggak usah nih lanangan itu mamu. Nimbula, ayo Mr. Ben.
Ella ba?
Na magkikiro manolo kinedyo na mata ka moni chicken of ang rumbuka.
And a Bula FM. Now we do it silly.
Tonight, Fiji's fourth constitution made public. Politicians boycott constitution briefing. And LTA reveals causes of bus fires. Good evening, I'm Jackie Spate and you're watching FBC News. The Attorney General Said Qayyum today unveiled the final version of the new 2013 constitution. The soon-to-be supreme law of the country recognizes Itauke and Rutuman rights, the descendants of indentured laborers from British India and the Pacific Islands. It also declares that every individual is a Fijian, united by common and equal citizenry. Mika Longa reports.
The final version of the constitution was first unveiled to the media.
Indeed, we've given more recognition and protection for lands than ever before in our history.
The new constitution is safeguarded against any abrogation or suspension by anyone. It also upholds ownership rights to land of Itaukes, Rutumans and Banabans and the imposition of customary and communal practices.
So we've included that, just to give it that authority, just in case there's a challenge to that. All minerals.
The new constitution further protects Itauke land from alienation.
Previously, what used to happen is the state may come along and say, okay, we need this land to build a jetty or we need to build a road. So that when the state got the land, it became under the Crown land framework. So that land, in fact, became permanently alienated because it went to the Crown. What we are saying is that if the state acquires it for public purpose, if it no longer requires it, say assuming they've got some land to build a road, and they built a road. 10 years later on, they may say, well, this is actually a flood-prone area, we don't want this road, we're going to build a new road. They have to give that land back to the Itauke landowners. It is necessary law.
The Attorney General further explained that the new constitution also protects land lease agreements against any law that may be passed by any parliament and protects freehold land ownership as well. Syed Qayyum also revealed a new provision that will allow owners of land have a fair share of the proceeds from the sale of minerals from below 6 feet.
Owners of any particular land, whether customary or freehold, or of any particular registered customary fishing rights, shall be entitled to receive a fair share of royalties or other money paid to the state in respect of the grant by the state of right to extract minerals from that land or seabed in the area of those fishing rights. This is the moment.
Syed Qayyum says the provision is the first in the Commonwealth. Mikalonga, FBC News.
There are also significant changes and new provisions pertaining to the new voting system and the conduct of the new parliament. Following in the steps of the Netherlands and Israel, the new constitution creates one single national constituency.
The new parliament will have 50 seats and it ensures political parties focus on national policies critical to nation building and binding.
A lot of submissions on the fact that people felt very neglected if they're in some of the remote parts of Fiji. So if you take, for example, somebody comes from, an area that may comprise of some small islands or certain parts of Vanuatu, and they have one member representing them. He seems to be the only lone guy concerned about that area.
Under the new constitution, a candidate needs to attain a minimum threshold of 5% of the total number of votes to be eligible for a seat in parliament. The document also spells out that the person must be a citizen of Fiji to vote, and people with dual citizenship can do the same.
So to vote, you don't have to be a resident Fiji, as long as you're a Fijian citizen. and valid Fijian passport and you're registered. But to stand for parliament, you must only be a Fijian citizen. And you must be a resident in Fiji for 2 years immediately prior to your nomination.
The new constitution has disallowed political parties from fielding multiple candidates.
Political parties, in particular in the 97 constitution, used to file what they call or put in dummy candidates. So that's like having 2-3 bites at the cherry.
The new parliament will have a lifespan of 4 years, and the new constitution prohibits the Prime Minister from dissolving the House by way of a presidential proclamation before a lapse of 3 years and 6 months.
He can call an election earlier than 4 years, but cannot be any earlier than 3 years and 6 months. You have to serve at least 3 years and 6 months. So it does not lead to good governance, because everybody goes into election mode. Policies are made, so how many votes can I win? So we want a government to serve at least 3 years and 6 months.
The document has further strengthened the immunity provisions pertaining to military coups.
No amendment to this constitution may ever be made to repeal any provision of Chapter 10, which is the immunity provision. You can't amend that ever. And also, you cannot in any way under B infringe or diminish the effect of any such provision. Now remember, this immunity provision relates to 1987 too.
The new 2013 Constitution stipulates that any amendments to it must have the support of 3/4 of the members of Parliament and 3/4 of the registered voters. It also stipulates that any amendment to the errors in the final version before 31st December, Cabinet will need to get certification from the Supreme Court. Nikolonga, FBC News.
President Ratoepeli Nailatikau will give his assent to the new 2013 Constitution on September 6th. Members of civil society groups and the diplomatic corps were briefed about the Constitution today. Attorney General Aisaid Kayum says the new Constitution doesn't allow anyone to do things as they like when it comes to issues of national importance.
It's not a political document per se. They are obviously viewing it as a political document. We are not viewing it as a political document. We are viewing it as a document that sets out the fundamental legal framework for a just and a stable Fijian society that addresses many of the issues that we need to be able to tackle and that have not in fact been addressed previously. And I have not obviously gone on to areas of socio-economic rights. The first time this is being introduced. And in fact, many of the submissions, as you would have known, that when we went around Fiji and even the other commissions previously, people talk about day-to-day issues or everyday issues. And that has been addressed. And that, in fact, means that every single political party, if they get elected to government, whenever it is, they will have to address those issues.
The new constitution paves the way for the general elections to be held before 30th September 2014. Meanwhile, some FBC staff are proud to be part of Fiji's history in the formation of the new constitution. Their submission on Itaukei and Fiji Hindi language to be mandatory subjects in all schools in Fiji from class 1 to 8 is part of the new constitution. Gold FM team leader Pedeli Rokotuivuna says their submission will give future leaders the basic skills to communicate properly with the two major ethnic groups in the country.
So this is a new chapter which involved a lot of young people who now work with the Fiji Broadcasting Corporation. Something we felt really strong about was this, having Hindi and Itaukei taught in primary schools. We thought that, we needed to have better communications within our countries. This is something that wasn't encouraged by our previous colonial governments.
Meanwhile, none of the 4 registered political parties attended a briefing on the Constitution organized by the Attorney General this morning. Chanel Sivan spoke to a few politicians who say they decided to stay away from the briefing.
The People's Democratic Party preferred not to comment on why it stayed away, saying they'd like to read through the Constitution first. The other 3 parties had their reasons. FBC News has confirmed that the National Federation Party, the Social Democratic Liberal Party and the Fiji Labour Party collectively agreed to stay away from today's briefing.
It was a group decision that we need not go to it, and our coordinator, Mr. Mick Beddoes, has made a statement on that. It was, we were generally not happy. Briefing was not necessary.
Dr. Tupeni Mbamba of the Social Democratic Liberal Party says there was no reason for them to attend the briefing.
The process is not inclusive and has been since the drafting of the draft. and it's continued, and we have not been included, and there is no need for us to be included until we are formally involved in the process.
Fiji Labour Party leader Mahendra Chaudhry told FBC News they will not attend any briefing as they believe the constitution isn't inclusive.
We are not going to go there and be elected by the Attorney General. It is pointless to go there and be told that this is what it is without any sort of engagement, discussion or debate. We're talking about the constitution of this nation, the supreme law of the country.
Attorney General Ayasaya Kayum in a statement this afternoon said the sessions with the media, civil society groups and the diplomatic corps were well attended and the new constitution was received positively. He did say, however, that it was a pity that none of the 4 registered political parties attended. Chanel Shivan, FBC News.
Electrical systems and their inadequate maintenance have been the main cause of bus fires in the past few months. This is part of findings by the Land Transport Authority released today. Vosita Kotewasawasa reports.
LTA Chief Executive Naisa Tuinadeva says the onus is on bus operators to ensure that a high level of maintenance is maintained on a daily basis. Tuinadeva says they have identified a few common reasons in the recent incidents of bus fires.
So the electrical system can develop heat. So the basic principle is that cables should be kept strictly separate from fuel hoses. Between the generator and the battery are usually unsecured. And because of work done, especially on bad workmanship, some kind of work done, they will not have been adjusted properly. It's unsecured or loose, and it contributes to this kind of sparks and fire.
Tuinadeva adds they have introduced a quality assurance and maintenance program for bus operators in this regard. This will ensure that everyone in the bus industry play their part in the safety and maintenance of their buses.
QMS or the quality assurance maintenance system is just a system. It's just a system that takes care of the bus in terms of its maintenance, in terms of how it's being looked after, and the system that will ensure the sustainability on the fitness and also on the safety of buses.
The LTA says that the QAMS forms will have to be filled every day by bus operators, and although companies will find it time-consuming, Tuinadeva says it's the only way to ensure the safety of the public. Wasita Kotewasawasa, FBC News.
In the news ahead, new biofuel plant for Rambi.
Sophie.
And I'm Tix.
You can join us on The Breakfast Show
every weekday from Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. right here on Today FM.
That's right.
Bula. Oya wasala bilawa. Do pata kia umena diwa kina tini karona kaloko na single boni moniti kina varomboka. Kako ni valatana no musini sari na kaisa mariendo loloma leone vani ni nau omgori ke de mena diwa kina tini karona kaloko na single boni moniti kina varomboka na Bula FM number 2 en sere.
Welcome back. You're watching FBC News. The Fiji Revenue Customs Authority is determined to achieve its 2013 revenue target of $1.8 billion. And things are already looking good, with their target for the first 7 months already up by $31 million. But despite this positive result, the authority admits meeting their annual target is a challenge.
Fiji Revenue and Customs Authority's Chief Executive Chitoko Tikolevu says they'll focus on compliance, debt collection, public awareness and more targeted audit activities in order to achieve the 2013 revenue target.
We're going hard on those that are owing us money. We're really trying to exhaust our processes in recovery and enforcement. But if you collect a good chunk of that, it might help our government also, the government arrears as well.
In 2012, FIRCA collected a total of $1.74 billion which exceeded last year's budget forecast by 6 million. The revenue growth was 9.4%, which was achieved despite massive tax cuts. Tikolevu says this was due largely to increased economic activity.
There's a rise in economic activities going on, a lot of investment. So that is also affecting the new machineries in terms of quantum and value that are coming in the product sector, which is good for the economy, but it's also bringing in a lot of claims.
According to Firka, tax dodging through evasion, avoidance, and the use of so-called tax planning may affect the improvements in taxations. However, the authority is ensuring that such breaches are prosecuted and charged with maximum penalties applicable under the law. Shahin Lata, FBC News.
The Methodist Church's draft constitution will be given to its members tomorrow. It will then be read during the annual conference next week. Epeli Tukwasa reports.
The review of the church's new constitution has been completed and members can view the draft copy tomorrow.
This Friday, people will have the copies of the draft constitution so that they will look at it and see for themselves what changes is being proposed. And then when voting time comes, we will have our say then.
Reverend David Rawanda says after the conference, the draft will be taken back to all church circuits in Fiji for members to make changes.
We want the constitution to be inclusive of thoughts from right down in the grassroots and then come back again for any clarification or for any changes, alterations to the paper, to the constitution itself, before it is finalized as the constitution of the Methodist Church next conference.
Nawandra says church members should expect significant changes to the running of the church once the constitution is completed. Epeli Tukwasa, FBC News.
A new biofuel plant on Rambi Island marks a step toward development. The Rambi Biofuel project is the fifth in Fiji after Koro, Vivia, Rotuma and Ngao. Apisolome Thoka reports.
Biofuel plants like this one ease our dependence on imported fuel.
The Department of Energy has designed the biofuel program that will not only commence towards making Fiji rural community energy independent and naturally well off, but also save the country huge amounts of money in buying important fossil fuel.
On Rambi, like other islands, fuel is needed for electricity and transportation. Timothy Natuwa says life in rural and maritime zones should be as good as that in urban areas.
This biofuel program will also alleviate the need for rural to urban drift, because the main part of the biofuel project development will be implemented in the rural communities.
This project will be very beneficial to our community, the Rambian people, as it will create a source of income for them so that they can generate income to uplift their living standard and provide their needs for the families and provide the needs for the children's education too.
The Minister for Works was also in Lakamba to open another new biofuel plant, urging people there to work together and take charge of improving their lives.
I'm so happy for the opening of a new development project in Lakemba. We know these will help us in lifting our living standards.
More biofuel plants like this have been earmarked for other islands around Fiji. Apisolome Thoka, FBC News.
Sports time now, and Jamie, so much excitement on the political front. Could you say the same for sports?
Well, the underdogs at the Kati tournament are proving a surprise, and we should know by next week who will lead the national sevens team into the next IRB 7 series. So to answer your question, Jackie, there is always excitement in sports. And we'll have more after the break.
Mula, I'm Wame. Join me every weekday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on The Center Show with classic hits from the 70s as well as the 80s right here on Gold FM.
आपकी शादी होने वाली है, 5 बच्चे होंगे। 5 हाय, मैं हूँ आपकी सहेली रेनू। सुनते रहिए मिर्ची एफएम। मैं हूँ ना 9 से 12 बजे तक।
Welcome back to FBC Sports. Nandrunga Football Association President Vijay Singh and Vice President Krishna Ban were granted bail by the Nandi court this afternoon. The two are charged with obtaining financial advantage and obtaining financial advantage by deception. No plea was taken and the two given bail in the sum of $1,000 each with surety. They are alleged to have taken money in exchange for work permits from Nigerian players who had featured for the Stallions. It is alleged that the applications for the work permits were never made. They will reappear in the Singatoka Magistrates Court on September 9th. Fiji will know by next weekend who the national sevens coach will be for the next RB7 series. With application for the post closing tomorrow, the Fiji Rugby Union says interviews will be conducted next week and the name released shortly after. Shelvin Chand has more.
Fijians tend to love their sevens more than the full court game, and it's no wonder that the race for the sevens top job is on. So far, 15 coaches have applied for the job.
These are fairly impressive applicants, and obviously, you know, for the process that we're going through, this is very important for us, because the person coming in will coach the HSB 7 series for 2013-2014, so we want the best person for the job.
The closing date for the application was extended by FRU, and current coach Alifred Indere, who had earlier indicated that he would retire, now wants to stay on.
The deadline was extended to enable those from overseas to apply. And matter of fact, this opportunity has enabled, I got an application yesterday from the British Army coach of the sevens team.
The FRU board will shortlist the applicants and hopefully an announcement will be made next week.
We hope to start the interview next week and put it up to the board, you know, for endorsement. So if not the end of next week, it's early, you know, the following weekend.
Who takes over from Dere? Your guess is good as mine. Etwatewanga and overseas-based coaches have all applied for the top job, but whoever the new coach may be, better be ready to answer to the Fiji fans when the team does not perform. Shalvin Chan, FBC Sports.
Day 3 of the Milo Kachi rugby tournament at the ANZ Stadium in Suva featured a more serious atmosphere. And it was no wonder with teams facing elimination and top favourites finding out that the supposed underdogs weren't quite what they used to be. The quarterfinal stages have arrived, and as Elena McDonald reports, games will definitely get tougher tomorrow.
Things took a more serious approach to games today. This was the day a win was vital if teams wanted to feature in tomorrow's finals. And for Suva, sticking to the game plan has seen them reach the quarters in every grade.
First objective was to go through the pool game successfully. We managed to do that yesterday. Second objective was to go through the eliminations and the quarters. So I think we are right on track.
While a solid plan is handy, Suva's realized that it may not be all their way come tomorrow.
Right now, they're giving Suva a very hard time. Suva is facing a very tough time in the National Kachi Championship. Before, we used to dominate everything. Can't say the same for now.
Madhuwata, Dakondrove, and even Taviuni have also reached the playoffs, and by the looks of things, they're strong title contenders.
Bonolevu was really improved, all the teams from Bonolevu. From the western side, the two powerhouses are Nandi and Lautoka, and Nandronga is always well known for rugby. And it's so nice to see Kantabu make any impact this year.
If this is the event future flying Fijians are born, the odds are looking up for Fiji. But first, the finals tomorrow. Elena McDonald, FBC Sports.
Well, that was your sports for tonight. It's back to Jackie now for business.
Amalgamated Telecom Holdings today purchased the remaining 51% shareholding in Fintel from the government. The $9 million transaction has been funded through a loan from the Fiji National Provident Fund. Ritika Pratap reports.
With this purchase, Fintel becomes a fully owned subsidiary of Amalgamated Telecom Holdings Limited. ATH General Manager Ivan Fong says broadband and internet growth is increasing rapidly. Therefore, there needs to be a good international telecommunications connectivity.
The challenges with that is we will have to ensure the sustainability of these assets going forward. While it's cheap and generations for now can enjoy the services, one of ATH's goals is to ensure that for future we will continue to have such strategic assets that will help develop our economy.
Meanwhile, after 2 months of waiting, Tonga has finally connected to the Southern Cross cable through Fintel in Fiji, and Fong says they are looking to expand more in the region.
Some opportunities in the Pacific we were looking at. Tonga came online yesterday through Fintel. So in the future we expect a few more cables, and that's part of the work ATH is looking at is now trying to secure more business in the region as well.
Fong goes on to say that there will be room to grow in as far as employment is concerned.
Especially if more connectivity comes into Fiji, other firms can start to take a role around integration, data centers, cloud computing, and we think that in itself will then create the employment.
This sale is part of government's policy decision as announced in the 2013 budget address. The proceeds from this sale will benefit the government in undertaking infrastructural development. Government remains a shareholder in ATH. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
Well, the time now, looking rather tired today. Jen, not feeling too well?
Yes, Jackie, right now I'm feeling quite under the weather. No pun intended. In fact, with the current weather conditions, I'm sure I'm not the only one. As you can see over here, it rained, and in some cases, quite heavily. Very cool temperatures today. In fact, by some standards, very cold temperatures. Pa's the coldest at 25, Lautoka's at 26, and Suva at 27. Lambasa's a few degrees warmer at 31. If you miss seeing the sunny icons on our map, don't worry, they should be back again tomorrow. The sun should definitely come out in Nandi, Lautoka, Pa, and Lambasa. Now, since doing weather, I've discovered a few places that I never knew existed, and Dhumbu Island near Malake Island is one of them. This was taken by Osea and Paula Sandrau this morning, and I am so grateful that they were struck by the brilliant idea to send it in. If you also get that urge, remember that citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj, all lower cases, is the email address.
Thanks so much for that, Genevieve. The headlines again: Fiji's fourth constitution made public. Former politicians stay away from constitution briefing, and LTA reveals causes of bus fires. Time for this week's poll question, and we're asking, are there new faces shaping Fiji's political scene? To answer, visit our FBC website. Remember to send us newsworthy pictures and videos. Email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj. That's all from the newsroom tonight. Until tomorrow, good evening.
Nimula medango nimilote na isoro temua na makia umina rua kina ona na via kavi moniti kina vakarombuka rongo mena via sama kina via baga baro takini ndreko malolo ena radio Fiji wan na wongani via niano ngai na makia kina
जहाँ हो प्यार का बसेरा और रिश्तों की खुशबू वो है आपका अपना घर संसार. Join me on घर संसार Monday to Friday 9 AM till 12 PM only on Radio Fiji 2.